All right, everybody. How are you guys doing today? I'm Ken Sullivan, and I'm on Belite Live right now. And today I'm going to talk about the second part. I skipped last week, and I was going to talk a little bit about amino acids and how they do more than just build our muscles, which is what we've always found in the fitness industry. So I'm going to continue right off and go right into some of the different, a couple of the amino acids that we could talk about. So phenylalanine is the next one that I'm going to talk a little bit about. And one of the biggest things that we're finding doctors and therapists are using it for is for pain management. Probably the most important thing it's doing for pain management. But also, there's a couple of things. It also seems to be helping a lot with people with depression. But the form is very important. So there's a D and there's an L form. There's a DL form. People ask, well, what the hell does that mean? Just look at it like in terms of mirror images and how the makeup of the product or the amino acid is. Sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like this. So without getting into that, that's not important. But the DL formula we find helps a lot with depression and a lot with brain function and bring the levels up so people actually feel happier. And then also the L form seems to help more with bipolarism. So they seem to be using it for treatment of that. But the most common use we find of phenylalanine obviously is for pain management when we're looking at that. So also helps with things like building dopamine, epinephrine, which are all very important for our mood and for motivation and for getting up and getting out of bed, which is important for a lot of us. So next we look at arginine, which is probably the most typical, I guess, in the fitness industry, a lot of use of arginine for different things. So I'm not going to stay too long on that, but arginine's obviously, there's a couple things that stimulates your pituitary gland and tells it, hey, let's release growth hormone, which we find a lot of us like. We feel stronger, we feel leaner. It also does a couple of things that we have to be careful of. So when people dose arginine too high, and they have things like cold sores start popping up more and more and more. So if you do have the virus that perpetuates cold sores, be careful how much arginine you start blasting through your system. Yes, arginine will give you a better pump. You feel better with your muscles. You may sleep better. You may have more energy. You may look slightly better, but you also may have cold sores here if you do have that virus kicking around in your body. So be careful of that. And if you do, obviously combat it with lysine, and that'll kind of offset any cold sore issues you do have. So let's see what else we have. So we're also finding actually a lot of times when people have lower arginine because of it deals with blood flow and whatnot, we're also seeing issues with constipation, which is surprising for a lot of people. So obviously if you're constantly constipated, you can't find reasons why. Sometimes your arginine levels can be a little bit off. As well, we're finding that arginine seems to help with liver health. So a deficiency in arginine seems to have a lot more liver toxicity and liver disease issues. So having arginine levels are important. Remember, so next day I'll be talking more about what are the foods and the places that we find these amino acids instead of just taking the amino acids themselves. Let's see. So taurine is the next one we looked at. And I know a lot of times you look at formula, crack open baby formula, you'll see, hey, there's taurine in there. I remember seeing that a long time ago. Wow, there's taurine in this. Why is there taurine in here? So it seems to help a lot of times because our young children or babies don't make taurine whatsoever. So they have to put it in the system. It's also like an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So you're like, what the hell does that mean? Pretty much when your nervous system's like this, it helps calm it down, okay, which is very important. So I'm not sure if that's why they put it in baby formula, so the babies can be like, I'm kind of calm. But that's why also a lot of times when you do use taurine, we do recommend people to use, let's say, it post-training or post-run because you want to bring the nervous system down. And then we do a lot more studies with it in terms of how it can help with things like seizures and epilepsy and whatnot. But that's the biggest thing I find they use it for is also calming down the nervous system and through there. Okay, we got one more, and then we have L-Taurine, and then we also have what it does for the gallbladder. So we looked a little bit in terms of saying, great, what does L-Taurine do besides that? We find that in the gallbladder it helps it function better. And one of the ways that it does that is actually helps the gallbladder produce chemicals that pull cholesterol out in bile salts. So a lot of people find with taurine as well, they're getting better liver issues, better gallbladder issues. I'm not saying directly that it'll actually help lower cortisol per se, but it does help with the excretion of it through the bile salts. Okay, so there's a lot of other, and I find the biggest commonality between the last four they just talked about is all of them seem to have them as a deficiency, things like hair loss, mood, and liver function. I see those seem to be the three biggest commonalities between a lot of the amino acids that we're deficient in. And that's a lot of things that I would say a lot of North Americans and people deal with, male and female, hair loss of male and female, mood, male and female, and then liver function, male and female. So we're starting to find more and more that when you have the right amino acids, not only can we make things like glutathione, which helps detoxify, which is preventing cancers and all these different things. Having these combinations of amino acids build other things that help protect our system. And that's really what it gets back to, why we use these things. So a lot of times when we're taking these amino acids, we do feel better, we do have more energy, we do have better mood, but just to be known, it's also cleaning our system. But when we have them in an individual sense and we use them that way, that's when they have these more therapeutic tendencies. We just have to be careful how long we use them for, and I just say about no more than 3 weeks, because they can cause balance issues as well. And that's why a lot of times in Canada, you'll see them packaged together in a group versus having individual just sitting there on its own, okay? So anyway, that's a brief one today. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about the amino acids, where you find them, besides just chemical. Listen, how can you get them in food? How do you ingest them? What are the balances? Are they essential? And we'll go from there. All right, guys? Brief one today. Hope you enjoyed the Be Elite Live, and Bart will be back Wednesday. We'll see you then. And we'll be doing our series, I guess, this month, with having clients and talking about their success stories as well. So stay tuned for that, guys, and have a great day.